Today, September the 26th, 2024, class number 737, practicing present perfection. Practicing present perfection. Back somewhere in August, I forget exactly when, but I just know it was weeks ago, almost a month ago, maybe even further back than that. I went and got my oil changed, and the guy changed my oil, and he said, you have a rear main seal leak in your vehicle. And we don't do that kind of work here. He said, you need to go to a transmission shop because they have to drop your transmission and put a new seal in, and then they put it back up. And they do that kind of stuff all the time. So I said, okay, I know a good one. Well, instead of going on and doing it then, I said, I'm going to ride. And he said, unless it's all pouring out just like water, unless it's just pouring out, he said, I wouldn't get it fixed yet. He said, I just top off the oil. He said, depending on how much you lose. I said, okay, so I started that, trying that. About 3 weeks went, 2 weeks went by. I got the same week I got the oil changed. That's right. I lost 2 quarts of oil. I said, wait a minute, this is too much. Then the next thing you know, Jamal goes into the hospital, and I got to drive up there, and it's over a 40 to 50-minute ride up there. And a week goes by, and 2 quarts of oil. I'm like, good Lord, this is ridiculous, especially since I'm using that synthetic oil. So then after one more time up there, and then I come back, it went maybe about 10 days, because Jamal was in the hospital a little over a week, 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. So then I said, I got to do something about this. Then they transferred him to Silver Spring. It was in another direction. Didn't take me as long to get there, but again, 2 quarts of oil gone. I said, man, I'm going to have to do something. So I topped it off. And so I said, I know. I got a friend. I probably told y'all about him before. His name is also Michael Orr. Spells it just like me. And I said, and he runs a limousine service. And he's got this guy who does all his work. And he has 2 Chevrolet Suburbans. They're newer than mine, but mine, is still the same thing. He always says, man, you have the better vehicle. He said, they don't make them like that anymore. So I told him my situation. He said, yeah. He said, I got my friend. He said, he does all my work. He said, I'll call him and ask him and tell him what you got. He said, okay. And so then he gives me the guy's number. And the guy says, it's going to be, I'll do it. And I'll do it for $600. I said, okay, well, that's it. The guy got to take the engine loose, got to take the transmission down. That's fine. He said, I'll be out there Monday morning at 9 o'clock. Give me your address. I gave him the address. We talked on a Friday. On Monday morning, he didn't show up. I'm like, what's up? So I'm calling him to find out what's wrong, and he ain't answering this phone. Then I called Mike back, and Mike said, man, he said, you ain't answering my phone either. He said, I don't know what's up. He said, then I finally got to him, and he said, well, since the guy's driveway is on an incline, it might shift. And, I don't want to get hurt or take no chances. So Mike said, well, why didn't you tell him that? Well, man, that's as far as it went. So I said, well, let me now, look at it now. This is Michael Orr in this situation. I got cousins who know people. I got other people. So I stopped by this one place just for the heck of it because I used to always get a bunch of stuff from up this gas station and get a little help. The guy looks at me and goes, oh, okay. Yeah, no, that'd be $1,100 for me to pay. I said, $1,100? I had Googled it. And they said around $600, you know. So I said, oh, okay, thanks a lot, man. So then I called up my a cousin. He said, because it's you, and he works at a Chevrolet place, and that's what I have. Because it's you, he said, it's going to be $1,200. He said, because the shop going to charge you $2,000, $3,000. I went, something ain't right here. So then I got another cousin, and I said, hey, bro, I said, you know anybody that does this kind of work? He said, yeah, this guy does all of my work. He's down at Waldorf, not far from you. He said, he's the cheapest guy around here. I called, and he said, it'll be $850. I said, you got it, man. I said, when can you fix it? He said, call tomorrow. He said, I'm kind of backed up today. Call tomorrow, and I'll give you a date. I called, and he doesn't answer the phone. So then my cousin called him and said, hey, man, my cousin is calling you. What's up? He said, oh, man, he said, man, he said, this guy, he said, this is the best guy around. And he said, tell him to call me after 5 o'clock. I called him after 5 o'clock, and he said, I was sick, and I was out today, so he said, I tell you what, call me tomorrow, and I'll tell you what time to be there. I said, I'm tired of this, call me tomorrow. Take 2 pills and go to bed and see you in the morning. I'm tired of it. So then I said, wow, man, I said, this is ridiculous. So I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to, and something hit me. Call the first guy back. So I called the first guy back, my friend's guy. And he said, okay, I understand now you can have it done in your son's yard. And it's flat. I said, yep. He said, okay. He said, be there tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. I said, I'll be there. This was like Monday. He said, I'll be there Monday morning, 9 o'clock. I said, okay. I went to bed Sunday night, got up, and before I could even, I got up around 8:30. Who you think called me at 8:45? Him. I'm sitting in your son's yard. I said, man, you said 9 o'clock. He said, yeah, I know, but I'm always early everywhere. I'm like, okay, I ain't going to argue with it. I said, man, it's going to take me a minute. He said, no, I was getting ready to pack up my stuff to walk out the house because I was figuring I was going to get up there about 5 minutes to 9. He said, man, you ain't got to worry about that. He said, I'll be here. I told you I'd be here at 9. I'm early. Is there 7-Eleven around here? I told him where it was. When I got up there and pulled in the yard, he had been to the 7-Eleven. He came in the yard, got out, had his car. So I'm like, okay. Then he gets under the car, starts working, and, this guy's like working like you won't believe. And he looks like he might weigh about 175 pounds, maybe. And he's taking all this stuff loose, and the transmission, good God, that thing looks like it could have weighed about 200 pounds. And he's laying on the ground, and he, on the concrete, rather, and he pushes it up and gets it back up in there. And this whole thing took about 5 hours. Now, by the time he got finished and hooked it all up and what have you, I noticed something different. I said, something, what is it? What is it? I didn't know what it was and what have you. But he was like, okay, you straight. He had a little tapping down in there, got back up under there and said, oh, the little shield that fits up under there, I didn't get that tight, so let me do that, and you straight. He tightened it all up. I paid him. And he said, he was just ready to stick it in his pocket, man. I said, count it. I want to make sure that we, He said, no, it's 600. I said, okay, man. He then drove off. I went in Jamal's house to just kind of relax, just to, relieve what I've been through all day long. And finally I said, okay, let me go home. This is about 15 minutes later, maybe 20 minutes later. I go to drive off, and guess what, y'all? My car won't shift out of first gear. It just, it will not shift. I'm like, what in the world? What's going on? And I'm driving. I call him up. Man, I'm already back across the bridge. I'm back in Virginia. He lives in Arlington. I said, oh, man. He said, well, and we go through can you put it down in the low and then try to shift it manually to go home. And then I said, man, it shifts up to one gear and then that's it. It won't go no more. He said, oh, wow. Okay, I tell you what. Now watch this. Can you get a ride home? I'm like, I just paid a man $600 to fix my car. And he tells me we done. Everything's cool. Can I get a ride home and then he'll pick me up at my house in the morning and take me back up there and check out my car? So I said, yeah, I'll get a ride home. So I got another cousin who lives right around the corner, not 5 minutes from Jamal. And I called him, and I said, Junior, I said, can you give me a ride home? I said, the guy didn't get my car finished, man, and he's gone. I said, I can't drive it, or I'm going to burn the transmission up. He said, no problem, man. He said, you were here for my dad. You and Cynthia were here for my dad. And when he finally passed, he said, I'll never forget that. He said, man, I'll take you home. He picked me up, took me home. We talked on the way home. And then I want y'all to see this now. My dinner, I had a busted dinner. Y'all know what a busted dinner is. You just throw it together because you ain't been there all day and it's going to be a mess. And it was late. We talking 6, 7 o'clock now, 7, 8 o'clock, and I ain't even started dinner. So now it gets into 8 and what have you. I ain't feeling real well. And I'm mad. I'm tense. So I said, I'm going to go to bed early. So I went to bed somewhere in the vicinity of 9 or 9:30. I never go to bed before 11 o'clock. I went to bed about 9, 9:30, and then the mentals kicked in. Y'all know what the mentals are, don't you? The opposite of take no thought. What y'all think I was doing? I was taking a whole bunch of thoughts. That means worry, fear. Both I got, no sleep, going to the bathroom every hour to every hour and a half, getting up every hour and a half, going to the bathroom. The mentals have taken over. What if the stick didn't read right? What if I don't have transmission fluid? How could that be? It was shifting perfectly when I took it to him. What's going on? After going through all of that all night, stomach upset, feeling sick, mad, angry, why this happening to me, dog? Finally, fell asleep. Now watch this. Here's the shift. Had a dream. I was getting ready to get in the car that my mother was driving. But she was nervous and jittery. And she was shaking like a leaf. And I'm like, you ain't driving me nowhere like that. And I said, no. You go, get in the back. My mother got out and got in the back. And Jamal and Shauna were little kids, and they were back there. I knew who it was. I didn't see their faces, but I knew who it was. They were back there in the back. And she got in the back and started singing with them. And they were singing something. I can't remember what they were singing, but they were singing something about joy and what have you, and it made you feel good. And then I saw Cynthia, and she got over on the front passenger side, and just as calm, face looking just calm as she could be. And I started up the car and drove off, and we were on a mountain, going around curves, rolling. It's like, everything was just, this is the way, da 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 da, so early in the morning. I mean, they just singing, and I'm just driving, and everything is really, really cool. And we go around curves without hitch. Everything is smooth. Now, let me break that dream down for you, because this is the way it came to me. My mother was a feeling of nervousness. Male and female. Female is feeling, male is conscious thought. And so this nervousness, you can't do nothing in fear and nervousness. You just don't, that's a feeling, and feeling takes over. I don't care what you're thinking. What you're thinking causes feeling. And so my feeling and my conscious thought were out of alignment with God. Cindy is feeling calm. But where did my mother get? She got in the back and sat down with Jamal and them. But what does the back represent? Okay. You ever notice that when you get rid of this fear or this nervousness or what have you, it sinks back into the back? Remember, it says the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came too. Satan is nothing more than your thought and feeling which says this might not work. This might not happen. This may be touch and go, all of this. Well, it sinks back into what we call the human subconscious. What? Jesus is on the mountain. He goes through 3 series of tests, and it says when Satan left him, it left him for what? A more convenient time, another time. In other words, wherever Jesus presented himself before the Lord, Satan showed up too, which is nothing more than the conscious thought and feeling out of alignment with God. So now it sits back in the back in there. Now up front is conscious feeling, Cynthia, conscious thought, me, and then there's Jamal and Sean, little kids in the back. Remember he says, unless you come as a little child, the thought and the feeling in perfect alignment. Now, this nervous feeling was transmuted into harmony. But what happened? Satan then waits for another time to come. And I'll tell you what that is in a minute. But Satan comes and it's just nothing more than a thought and a feeling, because my neighbor next door, I saw her and she said, you coming to our picnic, function, whatever they having at the church down in Upper Marlboro, you coming Saturday, right? I said, yeah, I told you I'd come. She said, okay, you and Jamal, y'all prepared to play and sing. I said, no, you didn't say that. You didn't say that. She said, I thought I finalized this with you months ago. No. He said, oh, wow, I got you set up to sing. But I said, well, you got to have a keyboard, you got to have a speaker. Well, I said, that's something that Jamal and I would have had set up already, knowing how we're going to get it all plugged up and what have you. And she said, oh, wow, okay. I know y'all got all professional equipment. She said, I got a friend up at the Marlboro Meadows, and she's got a keyboard. Maybe I could use. I said, oh, Lord. And I hate to be talking about old people because people consider me an old person. But I said, it's going to be a toy. It's going to be ding, 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 ding. I'm like, okay, well, whatever I can do, I will help you, Jack. I'll do this. You see, here Satan comes now. You got to concern yourself with what kind of keyboard you're going to have. How you going to sound? You're going to sound a mess. You don't like to sound like that. I'm like, you know what? I see what this is. I ain't going to give you no thought because it ain't no big deal. But in the meantime, let's deal with this situation here. I'm at peace. I'm at peace. Well, I woke up, and that morning, when I woke up, this is the morning that the guy is going to pick me up and fix my truck. Tuesday. And I prayed something like this. God, Father, how do you want to glorify yourself as me? Put your idea in me. Give me the urge, the desire that lets it come forth by grace. Thank you, Father, because I know you hear me. You always hear me. You hear my faith. You see, I realize that my mind and all my thoughts were on spirit. They are on spirit, which is the substance of harmony, heaven. Okay. After I'm feeling this peace. I'm feeling it again right now, just thinking about that. I feel this presence on the inside of me. It's just feeling like a warm glow, like everything is good. I get a call from the mechanic. Remember now, it's early in the morning. And he says, I think, y'all ready for this? I think I may have forgot to plug in the shift sensor for second and third gear. I'm like, okay. Yeah, there's some plugs that I'm supposed to plug in. I think I might have left those hanging. So I said, well, what time you going to be here? I said, I sent you a text and I called you to ask you what time you thought you'd pick me up. He said, I'll be out there about 9. Okay. He said, I sent you my address. Okay, well, send it to me again. See Satan trying to come back up again? Send it to me again. I said, okay. He said, he gets almost down here, and he said, what's the name of that street where you live? I said, Binghamton Place. Oh, okay. Like, didn't you read what I sent? But that's okay. Satan's still knocking at the door. I said, he said, okay, do I come down Pennsylvania Avenue? I'm like, yeah. I said, in fact, come down Pennsylvania Avenue till you get to Woodyard. Get off at Woodyard and get over in the left, make a left. And then my mind said, he's going to get all this confused. You better just send him all the way to Pennsylvania, down to 301. I said, why don't you just take Pennsylvania Avenue all the way to 301? I said, and then when you get down to 301, I said, just come on down to, I said, you won't have to make any turns once you get on 301. Which way I go on 301? I said, south. Okay. All right, you ready for this? I put your address in my GPS when I get to 301. I'm like, okay. So he put the GPS in at 301. I said, now when you get to Evermore Boulevard, give me a call so I'll be ready to walk out when you pull up. We'll do that, buddy. I got it. Something tells me you better get yourself together, be ready to walk out. So I did. I never got a call. Then I get a call. I'm like, hello? He's like, I'm outside your house. I said, yeah, okay, I'll be out in 2 minutes. I said, I prepared to get ready to go when you were ready to go. You see, I had felt that peace. And I knew everything was worked out from the dream. And then when he told me that he thought he might have forgotten to plug in some plugs, I felt the peace again. And once I felt all of that, I said, wow, man. I said, okay, we good now. I don't care what he told me. I knew my car was fixed. And I knew I should have never had my mind on how to get my car fixed. And he picked me up, brought me to Jamal's, fixed it in about a half hour. About a half hour. He gets up under there, fixes everything. Then he drove the car. And I said, That's what it was that was troubling me yesterday. He should have driven my car when he thought he had it fixed. He didn't drive the car. He was in a hurry to get fixed and go home. He wasn't about the money because I tried to pay him before he had cleaned up all of his tools and everything. He said, no, I don't do nothing until the whole thing is fixed and I got everything put away. Then you pay. I should have said, well, why don't you drive the car? But I did. And that's what it was troubling me. Something ain't right. This guy, and that's what it was. All he needed to do was drive the car, and he would have said, oh, wow, man, something's wrong with it. Then he would have thought, I might have left those plugs loose. So he went out, drove my car up the street, went on down. He was gone about 5 minutes or so, came back, and he said, man, this thing drives as smooth as a baby's butt. I said, okay, well, thank you, man. Then he apologized. He said, I inconvenienced you, man. He said, I'm sorry. I inconvenienced you, and this is not like me, man. He said, I should have made sure everything was straight yesterday before I left. When I drove out of the yard, my clock was on 11:28. In this world, 11 is November. Y'all remember what happened on November the 28th? That's when my wife passed away. And I looked up and I saw 11:28. And I said, girl, you still an angel. You're still an angel keeping me in the way and bringing me into the place that God has prepared for me. That was Moses. Moses, I sent you an angel to keep you in the way and bring you into the place that God has prepared for you. And over in, I think it's 1 Corinthians chapter 2, eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor has it entered into the mind of man the things that God has prepared for those who love him. And he goes down at the bottom of that, and it's, we have the mind of Christ. So the mind of Christ within us knows exactly the place that God has prepared for us, and that is spirit. And we are to be living in spirit, in heaven, all the time. But Satan comes too. And what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about that? How are you going to fix this? How's this, you growing. Like I said earlier, no, none of us are growing. None of us are growing. I said last week, as far as I can see, Cynthia did not fulfill her full potential here when she was on earth. She was still asking me to help her at the end. But then as I looked deeper and realized fulfillment was done before she ever came here. And she came here to express the glory of God. Well, now on the other side of the veil, she is what? Fulfilled. Fulfilling the what we call how God is going to glorify himself through her death. Because there is no death. And so this girl is constantly, as we say, behind the scenes, helping me to work out, I don't care what the situation is, helping me to work out when I'm going up there to see Jamal and what have you. And I'm rummaging, I don't know why I was doing this. I was rummaging through some of my mother's things one day. There was a book I had never seen. I've had it here for the longest time, a photo album. And I'm rummaging through it. I never even started rummaging through this book. But then I said, let me look and see what's there. I've had this thing there. Let me just take a look. Now, you can know how long I've had it. My mom has been gone since back in 2013. Or 12, I'm sorry. Way back there. 2012. I've had this book. I might have looked in it once and didn't pay much attention, And so then I'm rummaging through this book, and this is right after my truck's been fixed, and I'm sitting here, I've had these dreams. I'm constantly talking about how Cynthia is working behind the scenes, always working, helping me, showing me something, an angel, keeping me in the way to bring me into the place that God has prepared. And 2 pages into the book, there's one of my favorite pictures of her. And I said, oh, wow. So I pull it out, and I take a picture, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to keep this picture. And, whoa, here I open it up, turn another page, and here's a picture of the black and white ball from back in 1974 when I joined Kappa Alpha Psi. And there's a picture, a real nice picture of me and Cynthia and my frat brother and his wife. We walked the line that year. And there we are sitting there, and she's sitting there just looking like, I'm an angel. I'm an angel. And so I'm going, this is amazing. All of these things coming back to me constantly. You know, Satan shows up, but then here this person is who has come. And as far as I'm concerned, she has done Hebrews 2:14, because everybody's in Jesus Christ. And so it's the Christ that died, and in that death destroyed him who had the power of death. That is the devil. That is hell. That has been destroyed. I heard a man say last week, it just depends on where you're going to spend eternity, heaven or in hell. And I said, but eternity is, God is, I am life eternal. So how can you spend eternity in hell if hell doesn't exist and eternity doesn't know anything about a hell or a death? And I'm sitting there going, that's the stuff that's being preached to our people. What I mean by our people is everybody. I don't care what church you're in, they're all asking you, except some of the metaphysical churches or some of the churches that teach mysticism. Other than that, you're going to have these people up there telling you, as a point of fear and Satan, you determine where you're going to spend eternity, in heaven or in hell. And I'm like, there's an angel that's keeping us in the way, bringing us into the place that God has prepared for us. That obviously is the consciousness of harmony, the consciousness of heaven, the consciousness of the Christ. That's where we are. That's who we are. That's the mind of God. That's the angel that is within you, the mind of Christ, appearing as person, place, thing. You know, after I heard that thing about I've given you an angel to keep you in the way and bring you into the place prepared for you, I heard a voice in my head. And it said, you're ready to experience the second part of Job's life experience. You know what Job's life experience was. He lost everything. He struggled trying to say, but I ain't done nothing, and whatever, excuses. Yeah, but there's one thing that you did, Job. What's that? You never accepted the truth about who you are. And finally, one day, as Jesus preached, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God, Job said, I've heard of you with the hearing of the ear, but now mine eye seeth thee, and I repent. I change. I turn. And I know that I am God. And that's what we talked about last week. The pure in heart. No guile. No hidden agenda. Nothing. What do you mean? I don't have any agenda other than I know God. I don't have to go to God going, how am I going to fix this? Where am I going to get this from? The Father knows that you need these things in this particular earth experience. God knows you need things. And as we said, Hebrews 2:14, hell is dead. The devil was killed through the death of Christ. Now, what does that say to me? Never judge by appearances. You see, it looked like Job lost everything, but in the end, Job got twice as much as he had lost. Everybody on this call and everybody in the universe has been approached by Satan. And once you look and realize I'm not trying to get God to give me anything because I have all things. I have the Christ. I have God. I am spirit. So there's no need for me to go beseeching and begging God to give me something when I already know I have spirit. I am spirit. And just as the sun, you ever notice that the sun and the sunlight are the same thing? There's not the sun and then there's something that's the sunlight. And you ever notice that, as Joel Goldsmith says, that God does not have an opposite. God is all. And so I thought about it. Well, don't judge by an appearance. Realize that whatever you're dealing with spirit. Remember the disciples? Out there, we toiled all night. We didn't get nothing. But nevertheless, at your word, that's what they recognize, the word coming from the Christ. Not, we're going to get fish. And so we talked about that. Did you see the miracle, or did you come back for loaves and fish? Nevertheless, at your word, we'll throw the nets out one more time. He said, cast out into the deep. Go into the depth. Go out deep. Expand your awareness. Expand your consciousness. Expand it out to what? To where you, Michael, or the personality give up and let go, and where the Spirit of God shows you that the provisions have already been given. Don't judge by an appearance. In other words, practice present perfection. In that particular case, with my truck, I practice present perfection, completion. I practice harmony. I practice experiencing harmony. I practice knowing that my heart is pure, that I've seen the Father. I've seen the invisible. I know that I'm not beseeching and begging and asking God for something. God is all. Spirit is all. It is the substance of everything. And to practice seeing spirit as every person, place, and thing is practicing the present perfection. Amen. And so it is.